Hey there, do you dream of escaping into a book? Maybe your escape includes a cozy cabin in the mountains or a magical town along the coast. Either way, you're in the right place. Welcome to Literary Escapes with me, Becky. This year on the podcast, we're exploring the United States. So every week I'm going to bring you a new book set in a different state. So let's see where we're going today.
Okay, welcome back to the Literary Escapes podcast. And we are continuing our trek through the United States, and we are almost done with it. This week we are in Ohio, and our tour guide is author Libby Kay. Hi, Libby. Welcome.
Hi, Becky. Thanks so much for having me.
I am excited to have you on, and I'm excited to hear all about Ohio. And I know that you live there. So tell me what you love about Ohio, what people don't know about Ohio.
Sure. Well, I live in Columbus, so I'm literally in the middle of everything. And my husband and I have lived here for over 5 years now. And I will say Ohio is a surprise. I've lived in different states. I'm from Pennsylvania. We've lived in Indiana. We lived in Georgia. We've been out to California a bunch because that's where a lot of my in-laws are. So, I thought I knew what I was going to get into since, I'm like, oh, it's probably going to be like half Indiana, half Pennsylvania, which in some ways, depending on the day, I would agree. But in others, it's definitely different. I would say the thing that surprised me when we moved here is how diverse the scenery is in Ohio. You assume it's going to be cornfields. And
right.
My husband and I do a lot of weekend trips, and sometimes we go hiking, or we also like to eat. So if there's any chance we'll find good food, we'll find that place, regardless of the state, to eat. So, but I think that's the biggest surprise when we moved here is we've been, living in the central part of the state is nice because we can get to most things easily.
Right.
And, we've had the Cincinnati and the Cleveland times, and those are great. The cities are all great. But if you're looking for the natural beauty, I would say we've been up to like Put-in Bay and Kelly Island and those parts up in Lake Erie. And granted, we went in the summer when it was when all the party people were out. Not that we're partiers. We were in bed by 8:30. But that vibe of being up there and having, the water sports and, the rowdy people at the hotel pool, that felt like we were on proper, quote unquote, proper vacation outside of our home state. But then, we've also gone hiking and camping in Hocking Hills, and there's mountains and trees and caves and just really cool stuff that I frankly it was a lovely surprise. I'm like, oh, this is really nice.
That's really cool.
So yeah, it's very diverse, and depending on, where you are in the state, I mean, you can be somewhere beautiful in a matter of minutes, I will say.
Now, do you have beachfront, quote unquote, in Ohio?
If you're up in Lake Erie, yes. We've been outside Toledo. It's Maumee Bay, and we stayed at a resort there that was on the water. A resort, it's a hotel, but we stayed at a hotel on the water, and it was summer, so we sat on the beach. And again, I'm using quotes on beach because you're from Florida, so it's not in any way like the Florida ones, but you can go swimming and the water sports. We went parasailing, so that was really cool.
Fun.
So, I would say there are beach-like activities if you go in the summer. We have been up in January, and it's super cool because all the ice sheets come in. And so that's fun. I mean, obviously you're not going to go to the beach, but if you bundle up and go to look at it, it's super fun.
I don't even know what an ice sheet is.
Oh, it's like the lake freezes. And so it's like the little bit of a current brings in these chunks, and it just looks like sheets of ice that someone just threw in, and they kind of clatter around, and it's fun. It's, it's, if you're going to be in that area at that time of year, it's something very random to see. And it was cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. We don't have that in Florida.
Yeah, definitely no.
That is so cool. I love that. I do remember in my brief time in Ohio that there are some really pretty parks there, state parks, I think, and did some hiking a few times.
There's a great state park.
Yeah. That's awesome.
The state park system here is very strong. They have really nice lodges and cabin options.
Oh, cool.
I feel like I should be like an ambassador now.
I love that. That is very cool. And you've only lived there for 5 years. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we moved here right before the pandemic, and I think that's kind of why we learned the state system or the state park system is there was nothing else to do. We didn't want to be near
Right.
people, but we wanted to get out of the house. So,
What a
that
great
that was when we
opportunity. Yeah.
discovered, yeah. So I'll take it. It was nice.
I hear you. I hear you. So, how long have you been an author?
Well, officially published, I've been an author since I had some short stories published back in 2019. But I got my contract with Inkspell, and those books started coming out in 2021. So about
Nice.
3 years.
Okay.
But I've been writing in some capacity, my whole life. I used to do little picture books when I was a kid, although my drawing skills were always two-dimensional and terrible. But my parents were a big fan, so that was the
That's
inspiration to keep
that's awesome.
trying. So yeah, and I've written different stories, and I mean, you get it. You're a writer. You write things, and you think they're wonderful, and you put them in a drawer, and then you look at them later, and you're like, oh my gosh, I hope no one ever sees these. So, I definitely have a couple of those in drawers that, I told my husband, I'm like, make sure we burn these later because they're really embarrassing.
That's awesome. So,
But
did
yeah,
you
started writing seriously, probably 7, 10 years ago with like actively like I want to write a book
nice.
with that goal in mind.
And so, did you go to school to be a writer, or how did you get into it?
No, I went, my first degree was in history because that was very profitable and a good idea at the time. And I ended up after graduating and realizing, wow, you can't really do anything with this. I went back to school for my graduate degree and I'm a librarian. So that kind of
Oh,
helped fuel the passion of books that I already
for
had my whole
sure.
life. Working, and at the time I was working in public libraries. So I really took advantage of where I was and, learned the trends and especially fiction because even though I had that nonfiction writing background through my history degree, which I love going to the library and the archives and, getting lost in the research a little bit too much because I think that's why I'll never write historical fiction
I
is I
was
know
gonna
I
say,
just
I'm
enjoy the,
surprised you didn't go that route because that seems like it
no,
would be
I'm too much of
perfect.
a nerd. I would just research all the time and there'd never be a book. So maybe that's like a bucket list thing when if I have more time and I know I can be more regimented. But yeah, I've always loved reading fiction, and I'm that stereotypical kid who stole her Nana's Harlequin books when she was too young, and it was like, ooh, what's going on here? So
Yeah.
I've always had a soft spot for anything romance related, even when we watch shows and movies that don't have romantic plots as the main storyline. I'm always like, ooh, but maybe they'll get together later. And my husband's like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
It's a horror movie. No.
Exactly. He's like, this isn't going to end well for anyone. I'm like, it might, you never know.
In my book, they would.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Guaranteed.
So, your big series is Buckeye Falls, which is obviously set in
Yes.
Ohio. Um, so, how did
Yes.
that come about?
So I had written a story when we lived in Indiana, and it was very rough, but I liked the idea of the characters and it had that small town vibe. And when we moved here to Ohio, we went to this little tiny diner in Galena, Ohio, which is not very far from Columbus. It's like 20 minutes away. And it's one of those where you can kind of see into the kitchen. And I was watching everybody interact, and it was just a very normal interaction. But when the one waitress came out, there was a guy there, and the way they were talking, and I'm like, these people know each other. Like, this is a very small town. And so it kind of was helping me put the pieces together for the first book in the series, which is Falling Home, which is about a diner owner and a chef. And so I thought, there's something here. And I remember we went home that day, and as all good writers do, if you're in the zone, you're like, I love you, but don't talk to
You
me.
got to
And then
roll
you
with
like
it.
lock
Yeah.
yourself away. Exactly. And I am not good at outlining books. I have a general idea, but I'm not one of those people that can have like a really thoughtful outline and think, oh, I know where I'm going with this. That's never been me. So if the mood strikes, I have to take it. So I was just, the town was cute, and it gave me vibes of other places in Indiana that we had gone to and really enjoyed. And so I just started writing some notes, and I had ideas for Max and Ginny, and I'm a huge Hallmark fan, and so you'll be able to tell that in the book because it's very much a Hallmark vibe with us,
I
the
love that.
big city girl going back to her small hometown over Christmas. So I knew the elements, but I didn't have like the meat of it. And I thought there has to be something with the diner, which actually has kind of become the focal point of almost every book in the series.
Oh, I love
There's
that.
always at least one scene at the diner because oh, and speaking of living in Ohio, I live downtown and I'm sorry there's sirens going by. So sorry if
That's
you can hear
okay.
that.
That's
Um,
okay.
Gotta love it. But yeah, I just we just fell in love with, we still go to that diner, and I just loved the vibe, and that was kind of the little seed that got the series going. So, and it's sad. It took me more than 5 years to write it, but the last one comes out in December, and so it's a little bittersweet
That
because
is kind of
I really
sad.
enjoyed
Yeah.
my time. Yeah, I've enjoyed my time here, but it's, I have other ideas in other states. So
Right, right. That's awesome.
so yeah, but it's yeah.
So the book that we're doing in the book club is the first one called Falling Home. You had just talked about that, and it's Max and Jenny, and it's mostly
Mhm.
set in the diner. So tell us about that book.
Yeah. Sure. So, and it's perfect timing since this will be for December. Does take place over Christmas, and it's a second chance romance. Max and Ginny are hero and heroine. They're actually divorced, and so she had left Ohio behind, and she said, nuts to this, I'm leaving. And she pursued her dream career in New York, and then she comes home to help her father recover from hip surgery. And of course, Max is there. It's a small town. And so, and I won't give away too much of the plot, although it is a romance. So I hate to say
You
it.
kind of know where it's
Spoiler alert, they
going.
do get together. Yeah. So, but I like to write small town romances, even though I don't live in a small town right now. I just like the feeling. It's so cozy. And I like the
Mhm.
idea that you have people that are simultaneously, in your business, but they mean well. And you always have someone, in your corner. So that's, as a reader, I enjoy that. And as a writer, I've really enjoyed creating this community that you can,
Yeah.
go back to in other books.
As a reader, I love when there's the community, the small town feel, and you kind of get to know everybody in the community. I love that. I love doing that. I love, I haven't actually written it yet before, but I do love reading that. So
Mhm. No, there's just something just cozy and sweet about it, and, I will say if for romance readers, it is not a spicy book, so if you're looking for any shenanigans, your mother and grandmother can read this and enjoy it, as I like to
well, you
say.
did say that it's like a Hallmark movie, and that's,
Yes.
Hallmark movies tend to be
Yeah,
sweet and cozy. So yeah.
exactly. So, and I wrote it with that time of year in mind, and actually each of my books, there's usually a season involved.
Okay.
So the next one takes place in the spring, so you can have a whole year of Buckeye Falls.
Nice, I like it. So how many books are in the series and how many will there be when you finish up?
There are 5 full-length novels. The 5th novel is out, that's Forever to Fall, that just came out in August. Yes, I can't remember what month we're in. And then, there is a novella called A Buckeye Falls Christmas that will come out on December 17th, and that is it's about a 150-page novella that takes place 10 years after the last book finishes, and it's
Oh,
all 5
wow.
couples coming back to town to celebrate Christmas together. You get to see what everyone's been up to, and then at the end of the novella, I include some recipes that are mentioned throughout the series, since a lot of food is basically
Yeah,
the third character in every book, whether they're cooks and chefs or they just like to go out to eat. Food in my life always seems to be present and part of the fun. So I thought, let's have that be in the books as well. So
I love that.
I talked to a few readers over the years, and they said, Cece, who's the pastry chef at the diner, does these cheesy bites, and people are like, are they real? How do you make them? And I'm like, you know what? They are real, and I will share the recipe. So things like that are going to be in a Buckeye Falls Christmas. But
Oh, that's fun.
that's
I love
really the
that.
only one. You have to read another one to enjoy it, since it's obviously, assuming you know who these people are. But all
Right.
the other ones you can, if you just want a romance that take place in the fall or the summer or the spring or Christmas, you can just read them individually, since it's a different couple for each one. But
Nice.
it was really hard for me to wrap it up, and I thought, I don't really want to be done yet, but I don't know what to do with it. And then I kept having ideas for what people would be doing in the future and what their families and careers would look like. And I'm like, you know
Okay.
what? So I talked to to my publisher at Inkspell, and they were very enthusiastic, thank goodness, because I
There
really
you
wanted to
go.
get that out there. So that'll kind of be the little cherry on the sundae, wrapping it up. So
Yeah. What a
it's a
fun
little
way to wrap
bittersweet,
it
but I'm
up.
excited about it too.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope so.
That's awesome. So, do you have your next project in mind already?
Yes, I have. It's set to come out in, I believe, April of 25, so next year, and it's called When Sparks Fly. It is another small town romance, but this time we're going to go to Georgia, and we're going to have
Fun.
a whole new set of characters. Yeah, we lived in Georgia for a few years, and I have, well, like everywhere we live, I have fond memories. And I was thinking about what I wanted to do next, and I wanted it to be just, I like the small town feel, and I like having a cast of characters, but I wanted it to just be a little bit different. So it follows a woman who just unfortunately got broken up with publicly with her boyfriend, and a firefighter who is struggling to follow in his late father's footsteps at the fire station. And they meet in this intense moment, and then the rest of it is them falling in love in this little small town in Georgia. So
Well, fun.
it was fun to think about the times there, and more fun to think about the food, because food is always present in all of my books. So I was talking
Same.
to my husband, and we were looking at old pictures. I'm like, remember that place we went for the low country boil?
Yum. My editor told me that she had to find a recipe for a couple of the things that were in my books because they sounded so good. And
Oh, I love it. I
so,
love it. See?
so I might have
Food
to come
speaks
up
to
with a
people.
cookbook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except I don't cook all of these things. So I'll just have to find people that do. So,
Yes. And I actually had to put a little disclaimer that some of the recipes I mentioned aren't in this recipe section because I don't know how to do them.
right. Yeah,
Leave that to the professional pastry chefs.
for sure. For sure. That's my daughter's loves baking. And so she's been um, finding fun recipes for me to put into my books. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, I
And
love that.
then I'll actually have recipes that I can share because somebody's tried them, not me, but
Yeah. Taste tested.
that's funny. So you said that you read a lot of stuff. So tell me what you're reading right now.
I just started reading The Art of Catching Feelings by Alicia Thompson. My husband is a huge Dodgers fan, and so we're watching the World Series. And while I enjoy the enthusiasm that he has and the exciting moments of the game, in general, I am not a sports person. So I was looking through my shelves, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of feel like a little something different. So I've only read her first book, Alicia Thompson's first book, that was it was something about a serial killer. It's like How to Fall in Love with a Serial Killer or something, but it's about a paranoid woman who thinks this guy she has a crush on is a serial killer because she listens to too many true crime podcasts.
Oh,
And it was
funny.
just, it's so silly, but it was cute. And I really like her writing. So so when I saw that I had that one, and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of in a baseball mood. So
That
I
works.
just started that one, and I'm trying to think. It's over on my thing here. I'm trying. Oh, the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. That was one that's all over Bookstagram, and it has a very cutesy fall cover. And I thought, oh, that will be a cute fall read, and it was, but it was very steamy.
Oh,
The cover. It was one of those situations where the cover did not match the
there
content,
wasn't
which was
the
fine. It
shirtless
was,
man on the cover.
yeah, like usually you have a little something, or like they're, even if it's an illustrated cover, they're having like an embrace or something, and you're like, ooh, something's gonna go on there. But this was just a cute little picture of of like a little cafe, and I think there was even a cat in the front. And I thought, well, my goodness, everybody online says this is cute, and I think it literally had like 100,000 Goodreads ratings. So I'm like, well, I got to see what
Holy
this is
crap.
about, and it was available at the library, so I thought, why not? And then again, great book, not complaining, but it was not sweet. It was very spicy.
A little pumpkin spicy there, huh?
Exactly. Exactly. They should have called it that.
They just need to come to us for titles, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome. And so your new Christmas book comes out on the 17th.
Yes,
So
the 17th of December, and it will be in print and ebook. So
nice. Okay.
unfortunately not audio yet. I'm working on that.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. That's awesome. And
Mhm.
And then in the fall or in the spring, we'll get a whole new series from you.
Yes, or at least book one.
That's
So
exciting.
we'll start there.
We'll just start on a new series.
Yes,
right?
thank you. I'm
Yeah.
excited to, yeah. Yeah, so it's fun to start something new, and it's you know, you know how it is. You collect all these people and experiences, and you put them away, and you think I'll use that. And so every
Yeah.
once in a while, I would think about stuff that we did in Georgia, and I thought, that definitely has a Southern vibe, but not a Midwestern vibe. So you know, I'm excited to use those experiences
That's fun.
and go from there.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
That's a good time. I like that. It's fun when you
Mhm.
can use different experiences in your books and they pop up in different
Yes,
ways. So yeah, I like that. That's a lot of fun.
exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being part of the book club and thank you for joining me today. It's been a lot of fun talking to you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining me today. If you'd like to be part of the Read Across the U.S. Book Club, I'd love to have you join us. There is a link in the show notes, so just head down there and click and we will welcome you in. So see you in the book club, I hope. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week with a new episode.